What's up, everybody?
What's up?
Happy, what day is today? Tuesday?
Yes.
Happy Tuesday. We'll give it a couple more minutes as people are logging in here. Whoops. Mike Saladino. How you doing?
Good. Just had a colonoscopy and endoscopy this morning.
Yeah, how'd it go?
So far so good. We'll see in a week or so. Getting all checked out by the end of the year.
Nice.
You know, Mike, there's one thing I learned was never to have a business call after one of those.
No, you don't want to have it beforehand. Last night was not good. Today I'm fine.
Well, I know I felt really good afterwards, but that was sort of the point. I don't remember some of the things I said.
Now I'm good. Back home and ready to go. Can't
Okay.
miss this.
Awesome. Love it. Glad you're doing good, man.
Heart's doing good too.
Good. That's awesome.
I just had a scan last Friday. They said they can't even tell that I had a heart attack.
Amazing, man. That's so great.
All my levels went down, so lost 28 pounds in the last 3 months.
Wow, dude. That's amazing, man.
Yep, quarantine diet.
It's crazy. We'll give it one more minute, guys. I'm glad that we can all spend the afternoon together, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you. Before I jump in, and I want this to be interactive. I want you guys to ask questions. I like the setting way more in person. I actually wanted to do this in person, obviously, like socially, respectfully, in the same room, but since it's not happening, I want this to be interactive. I want you guys to ask questions. I like to feel your guys' energy, and I want you guys to this isn't me just talking at you. I want to be us all having a conversation together. So any questions you guys have, I want you to stop me. If I don't see your chat or something, because the way this is set up with presenting, maybe just unmute yourself. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. If we need to come back to it, we will. But I want it to absolutely be interactive. So before we jump in, and more people are logging in here, so let's give it one more minute. Before we jump in, I'd love to hear from some of you guys, why you're on this today, what you want to get out of this, what you want to learn, so I can make sure to speak to what you guys want to learn and get out of it today.
Hey, Josh, I wonder, one of my things that always holds me back is, imparting the same level of quality that I feel like I provide for my clients, so that, imparting that to my team, like making sure that I'm comfortable that they're doing the same thing, and then I hold myself back because I'm always I feel like I'm always helping them to the point where I'm taking away from my business. So then I kind of give up and I'm like, I'll just do it myself.
Hold on, I'm grabbing a pen. I want to write this down. Bear with me.
That was so well said, wasn't it?
So Eric, for clarity, feeling that you need to be the one to do it for your clients to get the level of service that they expect, or you think they expect?
Yeah, that I think they expect, or that I expect myself. But how do you set that standard? Like you probably have some sort of standard of excellence for yourself that you impart to your team. And how do you continuously keep that going, I guess, is my question.
Awesome. Hopefully, yeah, we will absolutely talk about that. And if we don't talk about it, or you have more questions about it throughout, let me know. What else, guys? What else are you intending to get out of it today?
Hi, Josh. Go ahead. Sorry. Okay, I'll go first then. This is Patrice Marks. Hi.
Hey, Patrice.
I'm just trying to find out more about whether a team is right for me and what it takes and the division of work and responsibilities and measurements and expectations.
So Patrice, when you say for clarity on that, like for you to, or for you to join, for you
To team up, I'm discussing possibly doing this with another broker.
got it. So figuring out like partnering up, partnership.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, cool. That's really helpful to know. Yeah, we can definitely talk about partnership. Partnership and things to consider, and then building a team and the reasons to or not to. And I think
And how to, how do you split commissions? How do you divide the work? How do you realize what you need?
great questions. It's funny you say that, Patrice, because I literally just got off a call with a team in Houston that's building a team and they wanted to pick my brain on it. And we will talk about that. And I shared my perspective on them and I'm happy to share. Here's the thing to understand. I will share everything that I feel and know. And I'm going to also share what we do on our team and just know that what we do on our team works for us, right? That doesn't mean it's right and what someone else is doing is wrong. I think that in general, teams are defined very differently, within KW compared to other companies. And even within KW, what one person feels is right as a team, someone else might feel is wrong or different. And I don't think there's a right or wrong. It's what works for you. So I can speak to what works for us and why. And I won't tell you how you should do your team or how you should build your team. I will tell you steps to take, but I won't say you should do your compensation this way and that's why. I'll tell you how we do it and why it's worked for us. Okay. And in partnerships with the team. Cool. And if I don't hit on some of this during it, for these questions you're going over now, please bring them up at the end. And if we run over and we don't have time at the end to cover them all, I will literally get on a call or you can email me your questions and we can either Zoom, call or whatever and talk about any of this. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
Hey, Josh, it's Julie Dorger.
What up?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Would love to hear a little bit about, we are looking on the listing side of our team, adding a role or a role and a half maybe. And I'm just curious how you guys structure your showing person from a compensation standpoint, expectation, or do you have two people so that you're covered 7 days a week? Just trying to figure out how to bring someone on and what's the best structure in doing so.
Yep, for sure. And know when we talk about that, and back to what I was just saying with Patrice, I'll share what we do and know that there's a bunch of models for it on how you can compensate, well, any role, honestly. But from the showing specialist role, right, how we do it is going to be different than others. And I will share what we do and I'll share what I've heard other people do in different structures. Does that make sense? And not that I'm not trying to give you clarity on it. I'm just going to be able to share from our experience what's working for us. And I think the key is, like, back to Patrice's question about compensation. I don't think you can compare on one team what compensation is to another. It's because there's not a percentage that's right or wrong. It's what are they getting for that percentage? And that's going to be completely different from one team to another too. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. And I think where I'm coming from that is, and you can look at the model and see what that showing role is from a KW standpoint. But being in the city and knowing we show our own properties and knowing there's a little bit more that goes into the listing side, showings, that sort of thing. What's the best way to be fair, give the level of service that we like to give and make it work for everybody?
Totally.
Thank you.
Totally. Yeah. That's awesome. Anything else before we jump in, guys, ladies?
I think, Josh, the last thing I'll say is just defining, and I know you're going to talk about this, but I'd love to hear it again. Defining like the key pieces of the culture and how to identify if someone is not only a talent fit, but a culture fit in the business.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll talk about culture a lot.
Hey, Josh.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you on the other side of the wall that I'm on right now? Should I open my door? Bob?
Oh my God.
I can hear you, Bob.
I don't know. My computer's messed up. I'll type mine in the chat.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Josh. It's Tanya.
Hey, what up, Tanya?
Hi. I'm excited that I missed who just said the piece about the culture, but I just brought on a new admin just last Thursday, and want
Congrats.
to thank you. Want to lay the groundwork as we build this out, and so the cultural piece is really important to me as well. So I'm glad we're going to touch on it.
Awesome. I love it. Cool. Well, yeah, I love sharing this, and I love sharing and teaching, and because the best part of it is I get to learn, right? And the best class you can take is one when you get to learn from it. So I'm excited to be able to do it. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to share with you. And I'm grateful for all you guys for being here and being all in and plugging in into your business. And right now is the perfect time. Some people think now is going to be the craziest time to bring someone on because it's October, the winter's coming. What I'll say is this: if you can bring people into your world right now, it's going to set you up for success when January and February rolls around. Because if you bring someone on tomorrow, it's a good 90 days before you're both on the same wavelength. And for someone out of the industry, it's going to take more like 6 months to really be up and running in the industry, right? So just know, like anybody coming from outside of the industry, what I found is it takes a good 6 months to really learn and understand the industry. So anyways, one thing that I think that's really important to understand, and this is something that for many years when Tommy and I started our team or started in this business, is we thought that this goes back to part of what Eric was saying, and we'll touch on it more, but it went to like, we thought that our clients wanted us at everything. Okay. So what we were pretty good at a bunch of things. And we thought we were really good at everything. And what we realized is we're just pretty good at a bunch of stuff, right? And what we realized was important was not whether our client didn't care whether we're at the photo appointment or whether I'm at the showing. What they care is that they're either going to have the level of service that they had with us in the past when we worked with them, the level of service that they were told they were going to have with us when they were referred to us, and or the minimum of our standard of white glove service, right? So whether it's me or Tommy or anyone else on our team, they don't actually care as long as the expectation is set up correct. And we'll talk more about that. So I'm not saying that there's a right way that you have to have 50 people on your team or 5 or 2, or there's not a set number. And building a massive team isn't for everyone. And some people say, hey, I'm not looking to build a big team. There's also some people say, I'm not looking to build a big team, but as time goes on, they realize their intention isn't building a lot of team just to have a big team. They're building a big team because naturally, organically, they need that, right? So just because the industry is going towards teams doesn't mean we can't be massively successful with a one-person team. We're still a team. It's just figuring out if we need to make a hire, what we need to look for. So what I'm going to ask you guys are, when you think of, and I want this to be, feel free to unmute. When you think of some of the best teams in the world, who are some of the best teams in the world that you think of?
Josh, because I know him and I know one of his team members in my downline, Lance Loken.
Okay, so that's definitely one of the best real estate teams in the world. I'm thinking even bigger than that, okay? Everything that, just so you guys know, the way my mind works, I relate everything to sports and music. No doubt Lance's team, the Loken Group.
Oh, you're talking like if I were to say
the 90s Bulls.
Like the 90s Bulls kind of a thing.
Yes, okay. Yes, but now you can say
that. That's exactly what I was thinking because I'm watching the show.
I love how it goes to real estate, and that's cool too. It can be the best real estate team in the world. Anything. I'm thinking like music, sports, whatever. Whoever you think is the best. Who are the best organizations and teams in the world? 90s Bulls. Who else?
All right, like the Yankees, the Dallas Cowboys, the
Patriots.
All awesome teams. Yep, absolutely. When when you look at it, right, here are some of the best teams. The UConn women's basketball team, they haven't lost a game in like, maybe they lost one game in like, I don't even know how many years. You talk about, when I think of teams, absolutely the Bulls obviously rise to the top. You look at the Dream Team, clearly that's arguably the best team ever assembled in any sport ever, right? When you look at that. The Yankees clearly have it. You could talk, I talk about the Cardinals because they do, regardless of whether you're a Cardinals fan or not, clearly they have an amazing organization. What do every one of these organizations have in common?
Leadership.
Leadership. What else?
Consistency.
Love that. Consistency. What do you mean by that?
They follow a formula and a model, and they practice and keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yes. Love that. What else?
Same goals.
Same goals. I'd say that goes hand in hand with collaboration, right?
Right.
Talent.
Talent. What else?
Each other.
I would say structure.
Structure. What else, guys? What was that?
Work ethic. Work ethic.
Work ethic. Yes. Every one of these teams, right? It's not defined by one player. It's defined by every player, by the coach, their front office, right? These teams, right? I'm super competitive and not competitive with other people. Right. Because in our industry, it's an industry where we can get caught up in trying to compare ourselves to someone else very easily, right? The key is comparing ourselves to being better than we were the day before. And I really like to win. And when I win, I'm like, okay, how can we win at the next level? And that's all relative what that is. But I hate to lose. And I hate to lose more than I love to win. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. That's just how I am. When I win, it feels really good, but I'm like, okay, on to the next one at a higher level. And when I lose, I used to let it eat away at me. And I used to spend that energy figuring out like, dude, I could literally be playing a video game and I would be literally sitting there mad that I just lost in a video game, and or if it's a client, right? We all have it where you have a client that calls you, and whether you want to call this winning or losing, I'm not saying it's winning or losing, but your mindset might be like, I just lost because that client decided to go in another direction. When you say lost, like lost a listing, I don't know. I don't think that's losing, but right. And so I used to spend that energy being like, damn, I hate losing. And like, it would get to me. And I realized I'm like, if I'm spending this energy focused on losing instead of just positive energy on putting out to the world about winning at a higher level, it's taking away from winning at a higher level. Every one of these organizations has amazing culture. Whether you like the Patriots or not, you know that when you step into that locker room, there's a certain standard of what you know, if you're playing for Bill Belichick, what's expected. There's no BS allowed. And if you're going to bring baggage, you either leave it at the door, or you're not going to be part of that organization. You could say the same thing about the Spurs. You could say it about whatever team. So what I'm ultimately saying is, right, there you have a key. There's the Michael Jordans of the Chicago Bulls. There's the Ron Harpers of the Chicago Bulls, the Phil Jacksons. Everyone's role is equally important. They just all have a different role. And how I relate that is I geek out on numbers because I'm a math nerd. I love puzzles, okay? And does anyone in here like puzzles? I'm sure some of us have done a puzzle over the quarantine, if not all of us. When you're doing a puzzle, and most people start with the outside, and then they work their way in the inside. And when you're working on the outside and you can't find a couple of the outside pieces, you literally I get like nervous. I was doing a puzzle with my kids this weekend, this farm puzzle that my daughters wanted to finish. And literally the last time we did it, I think we were missing outside pieces. At least I thought, and I literally got like stressed out about it. And it's like, the puzzle isn't complete without every piece there. So right now for our team, Weinberg Choi Residential, we're a 13-piece puzzle. If one of the puzzle pieces is missing, it is not complete. I'm not saying 13 is the end in mind. I'm just saying if one of us aren't there, it's not a complete puzzle. And I get that same feeling of we're missing a piece to our success. And every puzzle piece is equally important to the success in the organization, regardless of the title. Does that make sense? Thoughts? Questions? Cool. Okay. When you look at what all these teams have in common, you guys mentioned a lot of them, right? Leadership. Every championship team, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's real estate, whether it's any leadership team, every championship team has a strong leader, right? And you look at it and you talk about some of the leaders. And you mentioned the Loken group, Mark. So Lance Loken, clearly a leader at the highest level. You talk about these coaches like Tony La Russa, Bill Belichick, right? Every one of them is a leader. When you look at these things of what they have in common, and I'll talk through each of these, right? I remember, and this goes hand in hand too, Eric, with what you were asking, and this goes hand in hand, Patrice, with figuring out how should we structure it. I remember, does anyone here know Dick Dillingham? He taught a class called QL, and he's an amazing guy. And it's funny because I usually don't remember quotes and I butcher quotes, but there's a quote that has stuck with me from QL when I took it that he shared. And the quote was, "Don't let the things you can't do get in the way of the things you can." And basically for 7 or 8 years, things weren't getting in the way of what we could do for Tommy and I. But when we were running on pure talent with no support, we were wearing every hat and we were just pretty good at a bunch of stuff. And what we realized is we have to get into a hyper-focused mastery role that plays up to our strengths. And what I mean is, instead of a wide foundation to go deep later, it's building a deep foundation so we can go wide later by having everyone in a hyper-focused mastery role. So when you're figuring out what your next hire or your first hire or what your organization is going to look like, it's figuring out, what are you really, really good at? What do you love to do? What are you not good at? And what do you hate to do? And create the role descriptions around that. That's the best way to create a role description for your next hire. You know, I can share, and I'm happy to. Every one of you can reach out and we will share every single role description we have for any role and every 30, 60, 90. You could please reach out for it, and just know that your role description might look different because you have a different need for that role. And what I'm saying is, if it's your first hire, you're probably finding someone that's wearing 4 hats, because if you're bringing someone on the operation side, they may be your listing manager, marketing, transaction coordinator, concierge, all of the above, right? So it's important to figure out what you're not good at and create a role description around that. Systems. We basically ran on pure talent for 8 years. What I'll say, actually like 8.5 years, what I'll say is this: had we continued on the path we were on, we would have burnt out. Tommy and I were very close to burning out. We thought that to build a bigger business and sell more homes, that mean we thought we had to work 20 hours a day, because 20 hours a day would mean we could sell more homes individually than if we worked 12 hours a day. And does everyone, I wish, this is why I love to be in person, because I would love to draw up the E to P. Is everyone or anyone familiar with E to P? Is there anyone that's not? You know what, here, I'm just going to draw it on here. And maybe you'll be able to see it. And I'm not an artist. Can you guys see this? E is running entrepreneurially, running on pure talent with no systems, which is what we were doing for 8 years. Can I go back and change it? No. Would I go back and change it? No, because we can't go back in time. We were running on pure talent. So instead of, what I mean by a system is, I remember Dave Nasso said this: if there's something you're doing more than once, it's a system. And the systems that are going to work for you today in your business might not work in a year as your business grows or evolves. And what works for you in a year isn't going to work in 5 years. But by putting systems in place, and instead of running on pure talent, being purposeful. So from what E to P means is, this ceiling right here, which again, this is a horrible drawing, is if you're running on pure talent, have any of you guys felt like you've hit a ceiling, or you just keep doing the same thing over and over again and you can't bust through? So Mark, when you did that, what was it that made you feel like you were hitting a ceiling?
So for me, In 2016, my business hit rock bottom. And I calculated how much time I spent calling non-Mets, like FSBOs, expireds. And I had an aha that if I spent all that time on where I get 90% of my business, and that's when I really started really putting jet fuel on my niche. And I devoted all my time into my niche. And that was a EDP moment because I was just grinding. And once I started leveraging who I talked to and when I talked to them, my business took off.
Thanks for sharing that, man. That's awesome. And it's tough because we are wired a certain way and we think a certain way works. And we just think, I'm not saying that it doesn't take hard work. That's not what I'm saying. But if you just work harder and that's it, you will lead to burnout. So it's got to be, right, purposeful. So it's going from entrepreneurial to purposeful, meaning running on talent to systems. And what I will say is this: system is going to outperform talent all day long. Now, two people that are equally talented with the same systems, sure, they're going to be about the same. And two people one that's less talented and one that's more talented. You know, has anybody ever had that feeling? We're probably all going to fall on one side of the coin and neither is better. Where like there's people in your class in school or whatever it may be, where you look at them and they're like, they just literally open their book up for 5 minutes the night before they ace the test. And then there's the people that literally need to study for like weeks upon weeks. And then they may still get a lesser grade than that other person. Do you guys know what I'm talking about right now? Right? Or you compare to someone else in our industry and you like had correspondence with them, or you were at a showing with them, or you saw how they talked to your client or their client. And you're like, how in the world does someone want to work with them? Or like, how are they doing what they're doing? Well, for one, you're focusing your energy probably in figuring out them instead of focusing on you. But I'm sure we've all had that. There are people in our industry that you might be like, how in the world are they successful? Right? Likely that person who might not be as talented figured out way earlier on that they need to run on systems and they're going to outperform it. And they probably put those systems in place a lot sooner. Now there's going to be some people who are like, that person is crazy. You can tell they're all over the place. And probably I was that for a long time, where you're like, literally this person, like, how are they even keeping track of stuff? Well, it's probably because they're running on pure talent, right? Does that make sense? So to bust through this ceiling that we're having in our business, you got to go from entrepreneurial to purposeful. And you do that by putting systems in place. Cool. Thumbs up. Questions about that? Awesome. Mission and vision. Big aha right now. And we're actually reevaluating. We're going back through our MVVBP, just so you know, for the Market Center with leadership. And you know what we do, and just so you know what we do with our team. And again, I'm talking about our team right now, not necessarily at the Market Center level. Every single Monday, so we meet every single morning. We have a huddle every single morning at 8:30, okay? And we start except for Monday, which is a bigger meeting. We start every day off with gratitude. I'll speak to mission and vision in a second. Why? We found that just the mindset alone of thinking about what you're grateful for is going to put you in a more positive mindset. And by sharing what you're grateful for, you get to connect on a much deeper level. And what I mean by that is this. Sometimes people's gratitude on our team is, hey, I'm grateful for the barista at Starbucks who ran after me because I grabbed the wrong coffee, right? Sometimes it's, hey, I'm grateful for being healthy and here's why. And you get to know on a way deeper level what's going on in each other's world. And that way, one, you can connect on a deeper level. Two, you can understand when someone's coming from, you can tell when someone's coming into the day with something that they need love and support on, or if there's something that you realize about them, you don't know if you don't know what happened to them before they walked in that door. Why I shared that is because every Monday we have our team meeting where we are going through a bunch of different stuff. We share our mission and vision every single Monday, right? And it's shared, and it's going to mean something. Everyone's aligned on the mission and vision. Yet it could mean a little bit something different to how you or your team are doing that each day. So I typically will ask, like, so what does that mean to you? And are we doing that? And how are we doing that? Right? So like our mission for our team, our mission is to build legacies for our clients, our team, our friends and family through delivering and supporting their perfect real estate experience. Right? And our vision is to be the real estate team of choice to work with, to build a career and to buy and sell real estate. Right? So I think it's important. Here's the other thing. When you talk about vision and growth, first of all, questions so far. Is this resonating with anybody? I want to make sure we're talking about what you want to talk about. So stop me when you have questions. We are in the process of finishing out our growth chart. When I say finishing, building it out through 2025. We had previously built it through 2023. I think there's two different things between an org chart and a growth chart. They go hand in hand. The org chart is what your organization looks like today. A growth chart is what it's going to look like when your business is fully built out in 5 years. Now, our business won't be fully built out. It's not like, okay, in 5 years, that's where we're going to, but that's where we're like as a whole, but it's starting with the end in mind 5 years from now. Okay. And so if you can get clarity and start with the end in mind and work backwards, you're drawing out the path. What I want to be clear on is if you're looking at your growth chart, okay, and it's not hey, if you didn't achieve this, it's failure. This is just a blueprint or a roadmap for what you're looking to achieve. Every single time you look at it, there's going to be things that are going to look different, whether it's dates to bring someone into your organization, or if it's expansion you want to do, or if it's a rental division, or if it's whatever it is you want to do. I can't tell you what you want to do, but it's putting it down on paper, because when you're meeting with talented people to join your family, and I call our team our family, one, because I love them, two, because I spend more time with them on a non-COVID world during the week than my actual family. So you actually need to love the people you work with, right? That they understand the opportunity for them. And by explaining where you are today and where you're going, it creates the opportunity and casts the vision. So even if today it's just you and you're looking to make your first hire, if you're looking to bring an empire builder into your world, you want to know that, you want them to know that you're building this together and where their opportunity is. Make sense? Cool. Accountability. Very clearly, it's standards. I blurred lines on the difference between standards and goals for a long time. And the difference is the standard is the minimum that you're going to allow each other to achieve. Okay? A goal is something way bigger and absolutely achievable, yet the standard is the minimum that you're going to allow. What I'd recommend is if you know the role with someone you're meeting with up front, if you don't know the role, don't share 30, 60, 90, but if you know the role, then you can share the 30, 60, 90 up front, or if it's a standards-based role, depending on if it's operations or sales, right? A sales role, share your standards up front. If they're not in for that, that's okay. Then you point them in the right direction and connect them. But if they aren't in for it, then don't spend the 12 hours or 20 hours or however long it's going to be during career visioning, right? Because no one's set up for success. Make sure they're in for your standards up front. In my mind, the difference between standards and goals, right? Everyone's held to the same standards. How we create our goals, the standards are delivered for the team by us, by me. The goal is created by everyone individually. So what we do is this. Everyone on the team does their individual 135. We're in the process of it right now. Everyone's creating their individual 135. Then what we do is we get together as a team and go through our 135 together. Why? Because when you're it's like when you're sharing it in a safe environment where everyone's looking out for each other and can take constructive feedback on it, maybe there's a strategy you had on there that's actually a priority, right? And you can adjust it. But the difference is this. If I'm telling someone what their goal is or what our team goal is compared to this, everyone does their individual 135. From there, our 135 for the team and our goals for next year are created by the team. Think about the difference between that. Chris, what do you think the difference is between me telling the team their goal and them creating the team goal? When I say them, all of us creating the goal together.
They're buying in.
Exactly. I'm not saying here's our goal. So our goal heading into this year was 200 homes for 100 million. And I've completely shifted my mindset, by the way, on goals from just production based, whole other conversation. That was not established by me or Tommy or Krista. It was everyone collaboratively creating. Think of how much more empowering that is, right? So Chris, when you say, they're more bought in, what do you mean by that?
Everybody's pulling on the rope in the same direction.
Great way to put it. Stephanie on our team, she sat in every seat on the operation side. her definition of a team is everyone rowing in the same direction with the same vigor and the same goal, right? We may have to adjust those goals, and that's okay. Even like we had on our meeting yesterday, we talked about our goal for the month, and we had to adjust our goal actually down a bit, and that's okay. But instead of me saying, hey, here's what we're going to do by next Monday, I said, what do you guys think? Maddie, how did that conversation go on our team meeting yesterday when we were talking about our team goal?
You're talking to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just collaborative. We were all talking about like what everyone thought would be reachable and attainable.
Yeah.
Per person.
And I think the goal is created by a number of things, right? So anyways, hopefully that gives you some perspective. Any questions there? Cool. Culture. Culture is single-handedly the most important thing, more important than any of this other stuff, because if you have an amazing culture, everything else shows up. Everything else is a result of that. What I'll say about culture is this, right? Culture is a lot harder to put in words than it is felt. John Astorina, can you put into words, and I would love you to.
Sure.
Can you put into words what the culture felt like when we opened this market center and there was that buzz going through where literally your body inside felt such a special way when you would walk through here or you were here on the phone?
You see the expression on my face? You're taking me back, man. I used to say this to Shoes all the time. I felt like we were all wearing pirate hats and eye patches, and we were just disrupting in an incredibly positive way the real estate market in Chicago, and I just was super positive about it. Everybody, I mean, we were walking on air for what? I mean, forever, and it just felt so cool, and it literally radiated out into the marketplace when we would go.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, bud?
Yeah. Here's the thing. What John just explained is absolutely it. But here's what I'll say. Unless you are there and part of it and you can feel it, you don't totally get it. So what John explained is absolutely correct, but can't do justice to what the feeling is. I can sit here and tell you how amazing our team, everyone literally makes me feel, and the kind of conversations we have that have gone to a amazing place. I remember one team huddle we had, and Tommy wasn't there that day. And I remember saying to Tommy, like, dude, I don't know what in the world just happened, but I could have literally not even teed up what just happened. I couldn't have even tried to say, here's the volleyball, go spike it and let's go around and create what just happened in that huddle. It happened, and I can't even explain it. It was the way it was making me feel. So I can't explain how our team has made me feel or the special culture. Yes, everyone might in our market center might know it, or maybe even through Chicagoland, and even in other markets who reach out to our team, not just Tommy or I or Krista, who are reaching out to Mastermind and understand what we're doing. Nobody totally gets it unless you're part of it. The key is it's way bigger than any one or two or however many people. People aren't still part of our team because of Krista or Tommy or I or Stephanie. They're part of it because it's like-minded people who are all so aligned. And we are, I can explain in words, but it's not going to do justice. We are a culture of excellence and family and upping each other's game and celebrating and loving on each other, right? Culture to me, like I can sit here and tell you it, like there's people on our team who, when someone else was in labor with their baby, were watching their other child, or whose dog sat, or who've literally, they're not doing something for someone else because they think they owe them and now they're like, you owe me one or want something in return, right? They're doing that because they sincerely want to help each other and love each other. So that's culture. I can sit here all day long. Nothing is the same as feeling it, but it all starts with culture. Make sense? Thoughts? Any ahas? Questions? I'm getting a lot of blank stares.
Hi, Josh. It's Sarah McCarthy. I'll jump
Hi,
in.
I need a hug through the phone right now, or through the computer.
Back at you. It's so good to see you, even though it's, not in person. Virtual hug. Hey, I love it. And you are certainly somebody who, it's contagious, right? I think that that's what you're trying to, I think attract is somebody who is, it's a contagious feeling. And, once you're in that mojo and in that zone, if you will, you feel unstoppable, and the care that you bring to your clients, and that you just want everybody to feel that standard of excellence that you too provide.
So great. That's put so well. I mean, and your team's culture is such a testament to, right? It starts with you as the leader, but it's driven home and delivered at the highest level by everyone. So it has to be aligned, right? It starts with you and Julie, yet your culture isn't just what you two are doing. It's what everyone on your team and organization and your family are doing, right?
Yeah, it is. But it's so nice. I mean, I so am grateful that you are providing this forum, and because I think we can always learn and up our game. And I love how you mentioned, this was an aha, that you guys were at a point that you only had so many hours in the day, and how can you, I don't want to say leverage, but how can you identify the things that you are great at, like lean into the strengths that you have, and bring in and surround yourself with those who can complement the equation, I guess, to make it a whole and make it a win, and ultimately be the high care content that you're trying to provide for your clients. And I think Julie and I are looking at that, and how do we kind of look at that, because I think there is a high burnout rate within our industry, I think for all of us. And it's like, how do you, when you feel that overwhelming feeling, that's when you know you need to go there and make that higher.
Agreed. And we totally, and we will talk about that very shortly, about when to make it. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for your positive energy, and thanks for making me, every time I talk to you, your positivity is so magnetic. So thank you.
Back at you.
Thank you. One other aha before we move on. All right, let's move on. Okay, when I first wrote this class a few years ago, I remember it was like literally, this was the night before I was presenting it for the first time. And again, I relate everything to music and sports, so just know that that's going to come up a lot with this. And I remember I was watching, this was Monday Night Football. Does everybody know who Drew Brees is? If not, he's in my mind, not just a great athlete or quarterback. He's an amazing dad, an amazing leader. If you remember, actually, when they won the Super Bowl, his boys were like, had their head, this is like probably 4, 5, 6 years this picture from after they won the Super Bowl, his boys were on the sidelines with their headphones. This night was a Monday Night Football game. And in this game, I remembered I was watching it, and he became the all-time leading passer in yards. He broke Peyton Manning's record. And it was like, I think the play was actually, I don't know if anyone remembers, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like a long touchdown pass that he broke the record on, which was really cool. Okay. And he was all mic'd up. He was mic'd up because it was Monday Night Football, and you see his kids and family on the sideline, and he goes over to them and he said, "No, like nothing in life, everything you work hard for in life, none of it's easy, and it's all worth it." Something along those lines. I'm butchering the quote right now. And he wasn't saying any of that to his family because he was on a microphone. He was just being an amazing leader. And that was so cool. And it was literally the night before I was presenting this for the first time, and I added this in. I need to grab a charger because my battery's low. Hold on one sec. Okay, we're back. Anyways, I just love that because I thought that was like so amazing and so cool, and it just shows he's such a leader. Is it okay if I share with you guys some of my teams? Yeah? Okay, cool. First of all, this is my most important team. This is an old picture. I need to update this, but I love this picture. This is my family. I think we all know that none of what we do, our industry and any industry, is super grueling, right? we absolutely need a big support system and people that are totally supportive of us and what we do, because we know that in our industry, regardless of the role, there's a lot of times where we're, by saying yes to something, that means we're saying no to something else, right? You guys with me on that? Without my family, my most important team, none of what I do or can do is possible. And we all need that. So whether it's family or whether it's friends or whether it's whoever it is for you, it's finding that support system. But this is my wife, Erin. We've been together since we were in high school. I was 16, so we've been together for 22 years and married for, man, I should know this, 12. That's my
Does that
daughter.
mean you're 25?
What's that?
Does that mean you're only 25?
Yes, exactly. I'm 25. So we've been together since we were babies. No. Paige is my daughter. These pictures outdated. She's now almost 5. Dylan is my son. He's 7. And that's Yogi in my hand. So that's my number 1 team, the most important team. And without them, right? And when Tommy and I started this, none of it would have been possible if we did not have the full support of Aaron and Tesha, right? And when I'm on the phone at night or on the weekends and my kids are, the big ahas going off, and this goes back to burnout and going back to all of these things we talk about and being able to explain why we do it. And when they're like, Dad, get off the phone, right? That's a big aha for me. And literally, if you ask Dylan what our team goal is this year, he'd know it and he'd share it, which is pretty cool. Okay. The next team, one of my teams is St. Louis Cardinals. Why is this important? They're an amazing organization. Whether you like them or not, they bring in talent from, they almost never go and sign that big free agent. Instead, you talk about like emerging talent and proven talent and all that. They're bringing people up through their system, and you correlate that to our team. They're going to learn it the right way, like-minded people who are in culture, right? And they're a winning franchise and they're a winning team. And it's year after year after year. It's not a coincidence. This picture was Game 6 of the World Series in 2011. I was at the game. Actually, this might have been Game 7. Whoops. This might have been Game 7, but I was at Game 6, which was one of the craziest games ever, where they were down. David Freese hit a triple off the wall, then hit a homer to walk off in the extra innings. Bottom line is that's a team that I want to be part of, right? All around. Culture, coaching, leaders, role players, all of it. Does anybody here know who these guys are?
Fish.
Yes, who said that?
Josh Krish.
What's up, Josh? How are you, man?
Good, Josh. How are you?
Doing well. So glad you're on here, brother. Okay, so Fish is my favorite band. You might be saying, how are these guys a team? First of all, these 4 guys individually are some of the most talented musicians out there. You put these guys together on stage, and no joke, that what they do together is so incredible. And you might be like, yeah, for some people it's incredible and for some it's not, because some people it's totally not their thing. When I pull out the word, everybody, actually, I'll do it with you. Pull out your phone right now and Google the word team. Someone share it. There's like going to be a million definitions of it. When you say, what is your definition of a team? Can someone share it with me?
A group of people who work together toward a common goal.
Yep. And then I see it says teams of defined membership, which can be either large or small, and a set of activities to take part in. People on a team collaborate on sets of related tasks that are required to achieve an objective. These guys, okay, I've seen them 86 times. And you're probably wondering, who has seen an artist 86 times? This team is way bigger than this 4 people. These are just the 4 guys you see on stage. Their lighting guy is literally known as the best lighting guy in the industry. He did Justin Bieber's tour in a year where Fish wasn't touring. Their crew, right? It's the same thing. It's no different. For any of you guys, okay, Fish didn't get much credit for this because they're not like as mainstream as like a Rolling Stones. They played 13 shows in a row at Madison Square Garden like 3 years ago. They did not repeat the same song one time in the 13 shows. They're a very, 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 very special team, right? It's no difference with what happens in the locker room and what happens backstage and what happens in our office. They're one of my teams. The next team, and I can't wait till this picture is when we can all be in person with all of us as one, where there's so many more people. This is a team, well, it's more than just Lincoln Park, because there's people in here that are not part of, that are from the other market centers who are all now part of one. This is my KW1 Chicago fam, and a team that have impacted my life personally and professionally at such a deep level. It's because of the culture, because of the like-mindedness, because of the mindset abundance, right? This is a very important team to me, and I'm grateful to have all of you guys to support and be part of it. Here's my Weinberg Choi team. What I'm most proud, all the awards and all that is great. What I'm most proud of are the human beings that I get to be surrounded by every day. And this family right here of human beings are so like-minded and care so much about each other. And one of the things I'm most proud of is our 365 Days of Giving, which is our philanthropic arm, where every month we give back to a different organization. When people say like, why a team? And Patrice, you asked about like, how do I know about a team? The purpose of a team is going to be different to everyone, but it's what can you achieve by partnering up or being in business or joining a family with people that you individually could not achieve. And what I'll say is there might be 12 people in this picture. Right now, our puzzle is 13 and our family is going to be more at some point. What each of us individually are achieving and how talented everyone is amazing, but none of us are reaching our potential without what we are doing collaboratively. And we're achieving way more collaboratively as one big unit than we are as 13 individual units. Make sense? Just for perspective. What's that?
I said, love it. I like it very much.
So if you're figuring out why a team or should you do a team, it's what can you accomplish, or what void is it filling, or what gap is it filling? Or can you not reach the greatest version of yourself, either personally or professionally, right? It's no different than life. For friends or family or partners or whatever else it is, right? It's someone who's making you better, and ideally you're making them better too. So if you're getting into business with someone, it's to make each other better and to be able to reach and accomplish things that you couldn't accomplish otherwise. Whoops. Here's just some perspective on what we achieved. In 2019, right, we had 141 homes pending and closed. Every 2 days, we supported a client with their perfect real estate experience, either buying, selling, or renting. Through our 365 Days of Giving initiative, we donated $50,000 to local charities. This actually needs to be updated now because it says 8 kids. We have 9 children in the Weinberg Choi family. And when I mean children, not including me, like actually like kids. And yes, I'm a kid. And then 91% of our business last year came from either past clients, sphere, friend, family, or referral from realtor. So our business is basically hovers around 90% referral based. Here's our standards, okay? We're talking about standards. And if you want me to share this sheet, just send an email and we will share this with you. But you got to come up with what your standards are. Again, this is the minimum you're going to allow each other to achieve, right? This is on the sales side. But when you look at it, it's not just saying, hey, your standard is to work with 2 clients a month to buy or sell their home. That's part of it. That's the result though, guys. And that's the key is that's the result of all of these metrics. These metrics are the activities. The result of 2 a month at a minimum is by doing all of these activities, we know it will lead to that. Now, for some people having 5 face-to-faces a week, someone else might need to have 15 face-to-faces a week to lead to X amount of appointments, to lead to X amount of clients, to lead to 2+ clients under contract a month. Our standard is 2 clients under contract a month. And we do that by achieving all these metrics. Anyone have questions about that or thoughts?
Josh, how often do you visit this with your team? This is Julie.
So great question. First of all, we put a 15th protocol in place right before shelter in place, which meant all of this was doubled down. And it just so happened because we were not halfway to our goal for the first quarter. So we're revisiting it if we're not on pace. We're tracking where we are every Monday, previous week, where we are month to date, and where we are year to date. And where not only where our numbers are, but where we are on pace to our standard and our goal. And what I mean by that is this: our standard is 140 homes closed this year for 70 million. We adjusted our goal to 150 homes on new. That's our standard. We had a higher goal at the beginning of the year, is 200 homes, and we adjusted to 150 homes for 75 million. So we're looking at this all the time, right? And what I want to be clear on is, for a while we were just saying, okay, you got to make 20 calls a day. And what we realized was that didn't make sense. So these are actually changing too. Why? Because if someone can have a very impactful conversation with someone, whether it's through GChat, through Facebook Messenger, through Snapchat, I don't really care. Whatever's going to work for each person is going to be different from someone else. However, there has to be some element of calling, right? So we've changed it. Our standard, and now it's doubled down because we're still on 15th protocol, is 5 calls a day, 10 different contacts a day, meaning reaching out to 10 different people, with 20 different touches. And a touch, it's shown on here how it's defined. So Julie, we are revisiting this all the time. During shelter in place, when that started, we were talking to our coach and we realized we have less control, especially in March, April, and then May, of how many clients we're putting under contract. So what we did was we stopped that standard and we said, okay, our standard are calls, touches, contacts. We can absolutely control that. Every morning when we wake up, we can't control who's going under contract, especially when everyone's hitting a pause and there's uncertainty. We can absolutely control our activities. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
So that standard was put in place. Now we are back to the standard of 200 contract a month, yet we still also have the standards of the activities, those 3: calls, touches, contacts. What we've realized is with the performance plan is this. Performance plan isn't made to put someone in a spot to be like nervous they're going to lose their role. A performance plan is put into place that if the standard's not being achieved, we got to have something in place to make sure they're set up for success, right? And what I realized is, and this is why it's so awesome, and Krista is such an amazing leader on our team. Krista's like, having standards being across the board for what a performance plan is going to be, when someone may be way better at open houses or events compared to someone else on the phone. If we're just spreading them and saying, hey, you all have the same standards on a performance plan, I'm like, duh, why didn't I think of that? Why are you so much smarter than I am, right? So it's understanding everyone's skill set and strength and going deep on that. You still got to have standards though, okay? And I know that might sound like blurred lines. We have standards, but what we realized is I can't say everyone needs to make 20 calls a day, because if someone's better at doing something else, let's go deep on what our strength is. Make sense? Thoughts, questions? Cool. So when we talk about culture, okay, culture to me, it's way harder to put in words. And with that said, we are a culture of gratitude. We're a culture of honesty and celebrating and an abundance mindset and family and sharing and giving back to our community, supporting each other personally and professionally. How do we do that? We're also a culture of having fun. How do we support each other personally and professionally? Every month, right, during a 30, 60, 90, we have a weekly one-on-one with whoever's in their 30, 60, 90 and whoever's mentoring them. Once you're out of your 30, 60, 90, we have a monthly one-on-one. On our monthly one-on-one, there's wins or successes, opportunities, and then there's personal standards, there's professional standards, right? Is Josh still on here, Krish? Yeah, Josh, like for you, I know you like to run and do Ironman, right?
Yes.
Right? And if you were on my team and I didn't know that, I couldn't support you personally in achieving that if I didn't know that. But I know that just because I know that from seeing what you do, right? And that's important to you. I think it's still important to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And your why for why that's important to you, we don't need to go deep into it right now, but when I can understand that, it makes it so much easier to support each other personally and professionally. So when we go through monthly and I go through and someone shares their personal and professional goals, they've got to be measurable, right? Like SMART, right? But by putting those standards into place, if someone's standard is to have date night 4 times a month, then I know that's important to them and I can help them achieve it. And I can check in and say, hey, how is that date night 4 times a month going? Right? So we got to be there for each other. Does that make sense? Awesome. Gratitude. We talk about gratitude and I shared it before, how we start every day off, right? I think now more than ever in the last 7 months, everybody needs a little more loving, a lot more positivity, and we have a lot to be grateful for, right? And all of us have different things that we're grateful for. Like I said, if you can start your day off with gratitude, and even if you don't have a team right now, it's either finding people that you want to do it with, whether it's friends, whether it's business partners like lenders, whether it's people in the market center. Sharing gratitude is so key. It literally, Allie on our team, she lives in the suburbs and she's not coming downtown as much right now because we're not all working from the office. But I remember her saying, like, there's days where she came in and literally, and Allie's probably the most low-key person from the standpoint of she doesn't get very stressed out, or you're never going to be able to tell. Right, Maddie? She literally would come in after sitting in traffic or stressed out and she'd be like, this is exactly what I needed right now. So sharing, being grateful, and I know I talked about this earlier, but being grateful and sharing what you're grateful for is so important because it gets you into the right headspace. Make sense? Cool. Goal setting. We talked about how we empower the goal is created by the team, for the team. The key is this, guys. I think it's really hard, especially right now. It's like you head into the year, we're heading into 2021. This is a perfect time to talk about this. And we have these goals. No matter what the goal is, whether it's not just about selling homes, it could be about raising money. It could be about running an Ironman. It's whatever it is for us. The key is running an Ironman or doing an Ironman doesn't just happen. It's chunked down into a bunch of big goals. So like Josh, how many Ironmen have you done?
Well, actually, the first one I was going to do was scheduled for June 14th of this year, but I've done about 14 duathlons and 8 triathlons, ranging from the sprint distance to the Olympic distance.
That's insane. And how did you train for it?
So actually, I downloaded a program offline or online and just followed the daily program as to what I had to do to get to a certain distance, so that I was prepared for the time the race day came around.
Dude, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. I love that. Tanya, when you hired your admin last week, I don't know where that was on your goal, but obviously that's a big part of getting to wherever your goal is for the business you're building, right?
Right.
So what did you do to get to that point? Like, how did you start with the end in mind and figure that out?
Well, I'm someone that's had the privilege of having leverage in the past with past teams, either being on other people's teams or having my own. And just going through the history and seeing what was possible when I had the extra leverage and the extra assistance and support. And so I knew it was time that I needed to make that move again if I ever wanted to see those numbers again. It took a minute. I've been looking since June, and I really believe I found a good one.
That's awesome. What I heard you both just say is, we got to chunk down these goals. It's like, okay, if someone's goal is to sell 12 homes next year, that's a lot of homes, ton of homes. But if you're like, okay, that's 1 a month, which means I need to support 1 person a month in buying and selling. It's a lot easier when you do that. Now, there is seasonality. So if your goal is 12 next year, I don't think you should say, I want to do 1 in January, 1 in February, 1 in March, whatever, especially if you want to have 12 closings next year and you're not carrying anything over that's pending. So you got to factor that in. But what I'm ultimately saying is it's chunking down that big goal and making it and focusing on knocking down that domino. So the two tools we have, and if you guys aren't familiar with them, totally cool, are the 135, or you might hear the GPS, right? And the 411. And what the 135 is, it's one big goal with 3 priorities that support it and 5 strategies that support each one of those priorities, right? With that said, you could do a 135 where one of those priorities could be your one. Meaning if it's my goal is to run a marathon and I know I need to train better, eat better, and work out better, one of those priorities could be I could do a whole 135 with that being my one. But the key is when you do this 135, don't wait till January 1 to do it. Do it right now. Like literally 2021 is basically here. So we should be planning for it right now. Some people say it starts November 1 or November 15th. Doesn't mean that you can't still accomplish stuff, that numbers that will count for 2020. But the activities we are doing today are showing up in January and February and March. And if some of those activities show up before then, that's great. But if you meet with a client today, even if they're ready to go, maybe they're ready to go and they find a home or sell their home in 30 days. But maybe you're making the call today to have the meeting next week to go on the market next month to close in January. So when you're doing your 135, the 411 supports it. And what a 411 is the one big goal from your 135, and then it's the monthly goal. So start this now for November. In November, you're going to have your big goal for 2021 from your 135, okay? And the top thing, your one is going to be what your goal is for the year. The next one is what you're going to accomplish in November and what you need to accomplish in November to set you up for success to achieve that goal in 2021. And then the 4 in the 411 are the 4 weeks in a month. And yes, sometimes there's 5 weeks and that makes it really confusing, but don't worry about that right now. You don't set your goal for all 4 weeks in the month on your 411. I think this is where some people do it. And I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but this is what I've been taught. If you say, okay, my goal in November is to go on 4 listing appointments. And it's November 1. So I'm going to say I'm going to do 1 listing appointment week 1, 1 week 2, 1 week 3, 1 week 4. You don't know yet what you've accomplished in week 1 or 2 to say what you need to do in week 3 or 4. So what I recommend is you have your goal for week 1, and you have at the end of week 1, you evaluate for whatever your 4 conversations are. I mean, I think it's pretty simple, right? If you want to do the 4 conversations and you say, here's my goal for week 1. And then at the end of week 1, you look back and say, what were your actuals? Because if your actuals and you want to go on 4 listing appointments was 4 and you did 0 in week 1 and you've already filled out your goal for weeks 2, 3, and 4, even if you achieve those goals, you're coming up at 3. Does that make sense? Why I'm saying not to fill out your goal for the month in advance? Now, does that make sense, guys? And with that said, if you know you're out of town for the last week of the month, put that in your 411 now so you can plan around it. Because if your goal is 4 in a month, you know you need to do 4 in 3 weeks. Make sense? Questions about that? Clarity? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Since I can't feel your energy in person, I don't know. So I'm seeing 1 thumbs up.
You were good.
Awesome. I need
Josh,
that. Like,
John, you're doing great, buddy.
Thank you. I need that. I need to know. I can't feel your energy like if we're in a room together. Okay. So, right. We talked about this. Some people were saying, hey, like when do I make the hire? Okay. First of all, when you are at a point, whether you're to Patrice's question about a partner or to someone's question about either making their first hire or their next hire, it's when you are at a cap where it's literally holding you back and you're not busting through that ceiling, and you probably should have made that hire months ago, right? Some people it's like this double-edged sword. It's like, hey, I need leverage. And some people will tell you, oh, don't hire that person because if you're not earning enough money to pay yourself and you're paying them with that money, well, then it's not a win-win and that's not a business worth owning. And then some people are like, well, I'm going to lead with revenue. It's like, okay, so what do I do? It's like lead with revenue. And you don't want to be hiring out of need. And what I mean by that is it's happened to every one of us where we're hiring. Anyone who's hired someone is probably hired out of need. What happens is you're finding someone to fill a job instead of getting into business with someone that's looking to build a career. Before I go on this, there's 4 things that I think are super important. And every single conversation, and anyone who's on our team I've had this conversation with, and anybody who's on who reaches out, and I'm so grateful. Like I have a meeting this afternoon with someone who's interested in joining our team. First of all, first and foremost, before I even talk about the 4 things that are super important, and I think you guys can decide whether this is important to you. I think this is literally so important that you can't do it without these things. Number 1, before I even talk about the 4, honesty and transparency. If I'm meeting with Eric about joining our team, I need to be able to know that he can trust me at the highest level and I can trust him at the highest level. So I have a conversation. I literally say, hey, Eric, it is so important that we trust each other. That's most important that we're honest and transparent with each other. And that doesn't just mean big things. That means little things. If we can't be honest with each other about why somebody showed up, like, hey, why is a client texting me saying they see on their camera that there's 2 people waiting outside at 104 for an open house and you're not there yet? I don't need a made up story or saying, oh, I am there. And it's like, no, if you can't be honest with me about you not being at the open house, how can I trust that when I'm backing you? Because here's what I'll say is I trust everyone on our team at the highest level. There's enough other BS. I think we'd all agree, and maybe we can get a head nod to this. There's enough other BS in business that the last thing you want to worry about is trusting your partners or your teammates, family members. So I know that I can trust every single person on our team because we have this conversation and it all goes back to culture. And I tell them that's the number 1 single most important thing. So if they're running late to a meeting, cool, I'm probably going to run late to a meeting too. I don't need a made up story. It's going to happen. Make sense? So now when a realtor reaches out to me or someone reaches out to me or a client, I know I can back them 1,000,000% because we trust each other. That's the foundation. Does that make sense? Here are the 4 most important things after that to me. And I think it's like, you can't get into business with someone without these 4 things. 1, they've got to be in culture. And I've already explained what culture means to me and what that means. And that's sharing in our belief system of giving back to the community and doing things for one another without expecting something in return. If they're not in culture, you're not set up for success. You determine your culture. They're going to be part of curating that and building it. But just know that if they're not in culture, that's so hard for them to be part of your organization too. They got to share your vision. If you're not aligned on the vision, you're heading in one direction. If they're heading in another, no one's set up for success. It's also important why there's a growth chart that you can show them with their opportunity. It doesn't mean that they have to go from role A to role B to role C to role D. It's saying, here's what your role looks like today. Here's what our organization looks like. And here's the different ways that you can grow and what your opportunity is. Why? Because now they look at it as not a job and they look at it as a career. I specifically tell people, I am not looking for someone who's looking for a job. And yes, if we continue this conversation, because the CV process has this as part of it, and if you haven't taken career visioning or you have, and you're thinking about or need to make a hire, please do yourself a favor and go take career visioning. I've taken it multiple times. It has literally been the biggest game changer for us. The reason why it's so important, and I share with them that yes, we're going to have a conversation over what we're going to achieve together over the next 1 or 2 or 5 years. I'm thinking way bigger than that. It's what are we going to achieve together over the next 25 or 30 or 35 years? Why? If that freaks them out, that's okay. Maybe they're not aligned with what we're building, but we're not looking for someone that's coming to sign up for a job and clock in at 8:30 and clock out at 4:30. It also doesn't mean I'm not saying I expect someone to work from 7:30 to midnight. That's not what I'm saying. But the moment someone walks into your team or organization feeling like it's a job, no one's set up for success. It's someone who's looking to build a career and impact people's lives, and they realize that their role is equally important, and collaboratively, we're going to achieve way more than we are individually. Does that make sense? Talent. Number 3. So in culture, share the vision. 3rd is talent. Talent in the Red Book basically says this, and this isn't like, oh, this might sound cliche because I'm going to quote the MREA, and I'm probably not even quoting it right anyways. Talent is someone in the right role that is the best role for them that plays up to their strengths. And what I mean by that is this: I can confidently look every one of our clients in the eye when I say, hey, when I explain how we're set up and why and what our roles are and why our clients love it, why it's better for them, because they literally have the 13 best people, not even just in Chicago, in the world at their role, and they are the best at it, and they're going to get a better level of service and better communication. For example, Paul on our team, okay? He knows more about quality of construction, how to show a home, how to make someone feel comfortable than 99.9% of realtors in the world. So they're going to get more out of seeing a home with him than they are me, because he's going to point out details they would have never thought of. And I mean it, and I confidently mean that, right? So he is in a role that not only that plays up to his strength, that he's literally it's the best role for him. Here's an example, and I relate everything to sports and music. John Astorina, I know your favorite baseball team. Who do you think the best Yankee is ever?
Oh, wow. Right now, I'm going to say Derek Jeter. Okay,
Derek Jeter. Clearly, Derek Jeter, no one can argue this, has watched Derek Jeter, whether you hate or love the Yankees. He is a very talented leader, shortstop, baseball player. He is in a role that he is literally, it's the best role for him in the world when he was playing. Now, Derek Jeter might be a talented basketball player or golfer or whatever, but he's not as talented on the basketball court as he is playing baseball. So it's being in a role that you are literally the best at it, and it's the best role for you and you're the best at it. Make sense? So right now we've talked about culture, vision, talent. Fourth, and equally or most important, I think a lot of people forget about this, is being in a role that fuels your fire to wake up and come in every day and do it with people that you love. Why is that important? Because there's a lot of people who, here's the difference. If you're in culture, you share the vision and you're talented, that's great. The difference is if you only check off those 3 boxes, we're finding their replacement 3 or 6 or 9 or 12 months down the road. The difference? There's crappy days. I think we'd all agree that there's going to be days that are not as good as other days. Yes? Those crappy days are a lot less crappy when you do what you absolutely love and are passionate about, and you're doing it with people that you sincerely want to be around every day. The difference between the 3 and all 4 are this. I told you that we're finding the replacement 6 months down the road because they're going to get burnt out, resentment, not set up for success. If they're in a role that fuels their fire to wake up and come in every day, they're finding their replacement 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road when they're stepping into another role with your organization. Does that make sense? Julie, are you still on?
Yes.
Is there someone, Julie or Sarah, is there someone in your, I know there is, there's clearly a ton of people on your team who are like, check off every box we've talked about. Is there someone that's been with you for more than 2 years?
Yes.
Do you feel that every one of those things are checked off: culture, vision, talent, and in a role that fuels their fire to wake up and come in every day and do it with people they love?
Honestly, no.
You don't?
No.
Which ones aren't? Not which people.
Yeah.
And please, if this isn't a conversation you want to have right now, because I don't know who else on here, totally cool.
No, this is a totally healthy conversation. And, it's as much, it comes back to Sarah and I, defining what it is that we're going to require. And it goes to the standards. And we've had standards. We need to detail our standards. We need to let go of some things. We need to empower people on our team to do things. But I do feel like, there's a role on our team where it's become a job and the culture isn't there. And I don't know that you can teach culture. We've said this all along. You can't teach care. So I think, it's kind of circles back to talent, and we're getting ready to make a couple hires. And so this is a very healthy conversation for us to hear, but we need to make sure that we grab these things, especially the 4 or 5 things that you just talked about in that next role, but also we need to define what our standards are for our team and go back to the people that are on it. And it's a fit or it's not. And if it's not, we need to help them go find a place where they can be who they are. And we can bring people on our team that can be in alignment with who Sarah and I are and who our team is, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. What I'll say is it starts with you two, but your culture is brought home and curated continuously. It's your culture is delivered by everyone. It might start with you as the leader or you two as the leader, right?
Right.
But there are people I feel like that are on your team that have been and do check off all those boxes. Maybe not everyone.
Definitely. And I'm not, pointing out one person or another, but that is, that's a deficiency that we have right now that we need to work through. But I guess I toss it back to you, knowing you carry such a big team like you do. You've probably come across people that haven't met your standards, your culture, whatever, do you give them time to grow or change into your culture, or do you just know it's not a good fit and you help them onto something else?
The CV process does such a good job of, listen, not everybody that has joined our team after going through the CV process is still with us. At the same time, it's the opportunity to measure 4 times and cut once. And so it's either going to, if you're upfront about your standards and expectations with a 30, 60, 90, once you know what role you're talking with them about. And again, I don't always recommend talking with them about a specific role up front, because if they're massive talent and they're in culture and they share your vision, you can figure out what the right role is for them later. You either create the opportunity or you have them on your bench and you follow up with them when the timing is right. And if you talk about one specific role and they're not the right fit there, you may rule them out when you shouldn't have for another role. But once you know what role you're talking with them about, if you share the 30, 60, 90, what that does is this. And I'll answer your question, but I think this will help. What it does is it gives clarity to they're going to take it very seriously because they know you're taking it seriously because you're telling them what the first 90 days is going to look like. B, they have the right expectation of how they're going to be held accountable and what your expectations are. And see if they know your standards, regardless of the role. If they're not all in for it, they're going to self-select out. So the CV process are either going to self-select out because they're not all in for it, which is fine, or you're going to realize they're not the right fit because they're not all in for all those things, and that's okay. Now, some people might join our team and we don't know, they're still in culture. They still share the vision. We just don't maybe have them. There's been times where maybe we haven't had someone in the right seat, yet we've either found the right seat or we connected them with someone that would be the right seat somewhere else. So what was your question?
Well, no, it was just to kind of flip it back to you, knowing you carry so many team members. And that's, I think, where we probably have fallen a little bit short is, for the volume and the amount of transactions that we do, Sarah and I probably carry more than we should, right? So we just need to leverage that out and find some people and give some things away. But I look to you and think, obviously, over time, you've gotten someone on your team and probably gone through the 30, 60, 90, but something's changed, whatever. Do you try to train somebody into your culture or your vision, or do you just see it at, after that 90 days, if it's not there, you don't have a place for them, then you help them on to something else?
I mean, no, I think you could train someone into the role. You can't train someone to be in culture.
Right.
And being out of culture doesn't always mean, that can come off negatively. Like that can be viewed 2 different ways. Doing something out of culture could be doing something unethical, or it could just be that's not your culture. So it doesn't always mean it's like bad. It's just that if someone is not right, if someone joined our team who have no intention of giving back to the community or helping each other out, or like I share that because like that is our culture. Like if someone isn't into that, or they're like just coming here because they want to show up and like do their own thing, doesn't mean they can't do their own thing. But if they're not all about helping someone else and doing stuff for others without anything expected in return, they're not going to be happy here, because we all do so much for each other. Does that make sense? So yeah. I can't teach culture to someone. I can't teach being a like-minded person. Now, here's the key, and you guys need to be all cognizant of this. Some people have not come from an environment like some of us are used to, and what we are about to curate here with One Chicago, from the standpoint of they may be coming from a negative environment or an abundance or a mindset of scarcity. So you also need to be careful on that and understand. That's why this life story is so important when you take them through that process, because you don't know what's led up to today if you haven't had a conversation with them about that. So someone could come off very negative, but when you peel back the layers, they're the most positive person, but they're putting on a front to act like something because that's what they felt they needed to previously. And that's not actually who they are, or they were burned somewhere with something. Does that answer your question, Julie?
Yes. Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you. And
You're welcome.
I hope I didn't share too much there, but it's just, there's adjustments to be made, obviously, with the team, and there's adjustments to be made with the players, all the time. And so, we're all obviously trying to grow. You're trying to, stay who you are, and share yourself out there. But, you're just, so I'm saying we're constantly morphing, and you just have to be aware of what your environment is, and I guess hire to it,
Yep, exactly. So yeah, I think you can understand where someone's coming from, and that could bring them and understand the culture. I don't think you can teach someone to You can't coach to culture. Well, I don't want to say you can't. In my perspective, someone's either aligned with your culture or they're not. You can absolutely teach to talent and someone who has grit and willing to be all in and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
Cool. So the who, I just kind of talked about the who actually. It's right. What if you're looking for your first hire? Now it's different if you're looking for a partnership. And if you aren't, like Patrice, you had mentioned about partnership, I can't tell if you're still on because I can't totally see all the screens. I think you are. You still then your first hire for leverage has to be admin. I think a lot of people, I know everyone says, well, hey, like the model says this and that. The model does clearly say your first hire is operations, right? So it's really the first and second hire is admin or operations. And some people want to go to sales because they think that that will bring more revenue. I think if you're going to go that route, you want to go more showing leverage. But you then, if you're bringing on more, okay, here's the thing, way to look at it. If you bring on more showing leverage and that frees up more time for you to do more business and you're either not good or don't want to be doing the operations, all that's doing is bringing more administrative work on because there's more transactions. Make sense? That's why it's so important to bring on the administrative hire who getting clarity on what you're to create the role description. Again, you're writing out what you're not good at, what you don't want to do, or what are not money-making activities where it's not the best use of your time, and finding a role that someone's way better at it and can do it way more efficient than you. Okay. As far as where to find people, well, I think you go to where you're getting your business from. Yeah, you're not going to call a for sale by owner up and say, hey, for sale by owner, are you looking for a new career? Well, I guess you could. So for us, our business is coming from our sphere and our referral partners and our realtor referrals and our relationships. Every single person on our team, either somehow were connected with us, whether it was somehow we went to high school with their family member, or somebody saw Tommy speak and it was a friend or a family member, or they were in the market center and they were drawn to our culture and our team and the opportunity. That's where you go to your sphere. It's very simple. If you're like, hey, how am I going to call? You just got to put it out there to the world. It can be in social media. It can literally be a call to your sphere of influence and people that you need to be calling right now anyways. And you talk about the Ford model, which is family, occupation, recreation, dreams, right? And when you say how's business or how's work, or, are you doing okay because you lost your job or whatever it is, they're likely going to ask how's work for you. And a really simple way to put it is thank you so much for asking. Either I'm building a team or we're growing or having the biggest year yet, whatever it is that applies to you, saying we're looking for other talented people to join our organization. Who do you know? That is not a sales call. You're literally just asking them who they know. They're going to know people. You just got to put it out there to the world, right? So that's where you're going to find it. You can post on the Indeeds of the world and those too. Just depends where you want to find your people. I personally like finding people to join our family that know what we're all about and that we can impact them at the highest level. And then how? It's very simple. It's career visioning. If you go through the career visioning, you've set such good expectations with each other that you are going to ensure that it's a win-win. And can you cover every single expectation? No. But if you go so deep in the process and you're so transparent about what it's going to be like, and by them knowing their 30, 60, 90, and by you knowing what perfect looks like for them in 5 years in each aspect of the world, you're a lot more likely to be set up for success. Questions about that? All three of these are essential to building a team, growing a team. It's recruiting, it's training, and it's retaining and retraining. And it's got to be ongoing training. So what that looks like for us is, well, for one, we have the market center training that we can leverage. We have the most powerhouse admin masterminds where admin operation leaders in our market center are sharing ideas and collaborating together, right? But it can't be you bring someone on board and you just leverage it all off to someone if you don't have someone that's going to be leading them there. So you got to continue to retrain. We're doing different like buyer workshops with our buyers team, or common themes that, objections we're having, where then we'll talk through it as a team, and we're setting time to do that, right? That's all important. Okay, we talked about, I look at this bench right here, and this is a bench of, I'd say that's a pretty talented bench right there. MJ, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Clyde Drexler, right? People talk about building events and some people, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get that. But it's like, hey, I'm doing a million things right now and I'm trying to hire someone because I should have hired someone 6 months ago because I'm doing a million things and I'm not good at 999,000 of them. That's why I'm saying you just talk to talented people all the time, ask people who they know. And if they're not the right fit for the role you think or intend right now, you still have a conversation with them. One, most importantly, to see how you can support them. I always tell people, if we are not the right fit for each other, I will tell you and I want you to tell me, and I want to connect you with someone who I think will be a better fit for you, right? Because if we're not the right fit for each other, that's okay. But by having these conversations, like I said, if you're looking for a certain role and you're making your first role and it's operations, yet you come into contact with an absolutely talented person on the showing specialist role, and you're not ready to make that hire, that's okay. So you either create a role for that person because they're so massively talented, or you say to them, listen, you are such a rock star at that. I can totally, if they're in culture, share the vision and so on. Say like, I absolutely could see us collaborating, taking over the world together. I don't see that. I don't have that role right now. When I do, I'm going to give you a call. Do I have your permission to reach out to you so we can reconnect? Make sense? What questions, guys? What thoughts? Any ahas?
Well, thanks for sharing all that, Josh. It's incredible to me. It's like, it makes me feel like kind of small, like you're thinking so big on so many different levels it's like overwhelming almost, but it's still helpful. Like, especially those last 4 things, just like, okay, like break it down to one small thing. That was very helpful. Thank you.
And when you say small, what do you mean by that?
Well, just like when you're making a hire, so make sure they're within culture and share my vision, and they're talented and they're in the right role and doing it with people that you love. Just like it doesn't seem as difficult when I'm just looking at those few things versus saying like, oh, I got to build this giant team and this person's got to fit in this role and this. It's like one at a time and making sure I have the piece lined up, the puzzle piece. This puzzle piece goes here. Find that puzzle piece and make sure it all fits together.
Yeah. I think it's really overwhelming when someone says, start with the end in mind and start 5 years out and then build it out. But if you say, I want to be here in 5 years, and you can say, what do I need to achieve this year, this month, and this week? Then what does that need to be next year and the following year and the following year to get there? Whatever that looks like. If it is a number of units or income, you just can equate it back to, okay, if it's income, it's how many units do you have to do? Okay, to do that amount of units, how many people do need to support that? Because here's the thing. One operations person, the model says 25 to 30 people. Well, we're also in a showing in a market where we do show. Well, if one operations person is a listing manager, transaction coordinator, executive concierge, marketing for 30 transactions, there's a level of service giving somewhere. It's either burnout, no matter how talented they are, right? Or they're giving a level of service to your clients. They can handle it for 24 to 30 transactions at the most. But that means that you're at that point, they're like totally tapped out. And to get from 25 transactions to 50, you need to bring on another either operations or some kind of leverage. So it's starting with the end in mind, but then it's chunking it down. So it can be so overwhelming. I get it. It's really, really hard to go 5 years out. And it's not about whether you achieve every milestone along that way. And if you don't, it's failure. It's failure if you don't, if you're worried, if you're concerned. What I've changed my perspective on, guys, on failure isn't not achieving what we intend to achieve or what we hope to achieve. Failure is not doing it because we're scared of it not working out. The first time we put our growth chart out to our team was really like overwhelming for me, meaning like, I'm like, shoot, like now I've put this out there. Like I have to deliver on every one of these things because now like I've shared it. We have not achieved every single thing on that growth chart. That's okay. And we need to continue to evolve and we got to continue to adapt and we need to make adjustments to it. So really good perspective. Thanks for sharing that, Eric. Any other thoughts before we keep going? Thumbs up. Should we keep rolling?
Yes.
Awesome. I heard this and then I saw this. A+ talent attracts A+ talent. C talent or B talent is going to repel A+ talent. Joe DiLorenzo, are you on here?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing well. Thanks for being on here. What does that mean to you?
Well, especially if you're a C talent and you're trying to recruit someone that's an A+ talent, they're going to be seeing, they're looking above you when you're not going to see eye to eye on things.
Love that. Mike Saladino, what does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, you're not going to get somebody excellent if you're not showing up and attracting it that way. Like opposites, I wouldn't think attract in this situation. You know, you don't want to join. If you're a bunch of C talent on your team, an A talent's going to be looking for the A talent team.
Yeah.
To mediocrity.
Lisa, I think you're on here, right? What is A+ talent attracting other A+ talent, or B and C talent repelling A talent mean to you? I think you're on mute.
Sorry. When I think of A+ and A+, I think of all boats rising. You feed off of each other. Whereas whether it's you or whether it's someone else on your team, mediocrity will continue.
Yep, 100%. Tony Hardy, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Thanks
so
for being...
one of the things I thought about with that was early on in my career, I took a sales job at a mortgage company. And I asked the marketing manager, the VP of sales, who is the #1 guy on your team? I'm going to be selling mortgages. I want to get me a seat next to that guy, and I'm going to take him down, right? And we became great friends, and that friendly competition pushed him to do better, and it pushed me to do better. I want to be with the top producer, and I think that's that attraction of A+ to A+. That's what you're looking for.
Love it. Thank you all for sharing that. That's great. All great perspective, all similar. And the beautiful thing about this is it's, all different perspectives, yet they all align. Thanks for sharing that, all of you guys. So yeah, I think that's important, right? And why I say that is A+ talent wants to play with other A+ talent, and amazing human beings want to be surrounded by another amazing human being. So whether you take the word out of talent and you put in human beings in that line, it's the same thing, right? Let me ask this. Is there anyone on here who hasn't made a hire, who's been wanting to make a hire, or has made a hire in the past and is worried about making another hire because of either where they failed or whatnot?
I'll raise my hand on that one.
Okay. JP. Well, there's
Yes.
2 JPs on here. So Jordan Pyle, young JP, I'll say. Actually, no, younger JP. There we go.
I'm JP #2. He came first, so he's #1.
It's all good.
Okay. What is it when you're talking, what is it that would in the past has held you back, or what's holding you back right now from making that hire?
Yeah, for me, it's been, last year, I hired 2 people, learned a lot of lessons, found a lot of room for improvement in my leadership and my management skills. And I would say that is probably the part of it, that I had someone that was brand new to real estate as an admin. And just, that's not how my brain works, not being able to train and bring people up from an admin side of things. So for me this time around, it's, I've found ways to leverage different admin tasks, but it's like, okay, how can I bring people on and make sure that I'm not only growing the business, but I'm allowing them to grow, right? So I want to make sure that I'm bringing people on that have a certain style or standard to help them be more successful. But I'm a little nervous because I found that management wasn't my strong suit last year. So I want to make sure that it's not taking too much time around for me growing my business and, you know, in the thread of the overall team's business.
So it's right. So would you summarize that like by saying, what's holding you back from making that next hire is like figuring out the system of how they're going to get trained up and how you can hold each other accountable and whatnot?
Yeah, and how to make sure they have enough value on the team, but then doing it in a way that makes financial sense for me to actually launch the team again.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes totally sense. Thanks for sharing that. Was there someone else I think that started raising their hand or speaking?
I was about to, Josh.
The younger JP?
Yeah, all right.
The handsomer JP?
Both of those.
Okay. Anyway, I've hired in the past, and even having taken career visioning and Recruit Select, the predecessor to that, I realized that I hired out of I forget what the term was. I hired out of the need rather than the vision. I think it's somewhat close to that. And I hired to relieve pressure rather than to grow the business. And I think that as we are rolling out this new technology, it's time for me to redefine what that next person is going to be doing, and go into 2021 with a clear job description. I've been rattling this back and forth with my coach for months.
A clear role description for that hire?
Yeah. Because we have, and because of the size of my business, a lot of the in-house administrative work that we have as a part of our market center makes much of the role that I had previously hired someone for obsolete. So I need to figure out, A, how big my business is going to get next year, and B, what are the gaps I'm going to need a human body to help fill them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, the key, guys, is you want to create a world so big. And I'm not talking about building a massive team if that's not what you're looking to do. But whatever your world is, whether it's a 1 or 2 or 3 or 20 or 100-person team or million, whatever it is, your world has to be so big that that person's world fits into it. And that's where the motivation part of career visioning is so key. Because if I can't support someone in everything they ever dreamed of and more, then they're not set up for success. And that's not fair. It's not just figuring out when you're taking someone through this process, are they the right fit for you? It's them. It's also figuring out, are you the right fit for them? And understanding that, because right now it's hard to understand. It's hard. Vision is such a hard thing. And you're like, yeah, but it's just me right now. And I want to bring on one person first. And I 100% get that and agree. So I'm not sitting up here saying like, oh, you should have your like 10-year, 20-year figured out. And like, what I'm saying is like, just know that if you can understand what it is that they're looking to accomplish, you can help them and you can support them in that, and everything more, even more than what they ever even say on that. Now it's win-win, and now it's set up for success. The majority of times you talk to people, and it's in line with what you said. And Eric, you said something earlier about like delegating, and it's about like, hey, I think some people are either afraid to make a hire or the next hire for usually one of these 3 reasons. How am I going to train them or hold them accountable? I'm used to my, like, I got to do it because like, I know my system, and like, now I'm going to do a better job, or right. Like what you were saying, Eric, about like, how do you get the standards of delegating onto someone else that then, you know, that you don't have to take that job back. Right. That's what I heard you say. Or for some people, it's like, hey, it's the cost. And I don't know, because I'm looking at it like what I'm going to be making next year. And who knows? Because we all know that 2021 is like, as much as we all know and study data, like there's clearly uncertainty. We don't know what's coming in 2021. We didn't know what was going to happen in April, in June, right? So, and if we're doing the activities, we know the results will show up. Now, we don't know exactly what they are, but we know how big our lid is. Key is this, guys. We need to find people who you can support them in everything they ever dreamed of and more. and finding people who are going to up your game. And to be honest, that are going to hold you accountable. And what I mean by that is you're going to be holding that person accountable. But if you're bringing your first hire on or your next hire, likely they're going to be, you want everyone to be upping each other's game, kind of like A+ talent. Who cares what the title is or what your org chart looks like? I want if I'm not following through on something that I should be doing, I want anyone on our team to be able to, I want it personally, and this comes up in the expectations conversation, and you can ask anyone on our team what I said at that point. Through the career visioning, it says, hey, if there's something that needs to be addressed, I want you coming directly to me if I did something, right? Because the only way we can really resolve this is if you come direct to me. It doesn't need to be in front of the group or the team, but I want you holding me accountable, right? I think for some people, it's like, okay, some people are going to look at salary as an expense. I've completely shifted my mindset over the last few years. I truly look at it as I'm investing in someone and investing in our business. And more importantly, if I can invest in them and impact their world in a major way, it's going to be a win-win. My why and Tommy's, our why as an organization has changed so much. When we started Weinberg Choi 13 years ago, it was about starting a business, helping a lot of people buy and sell, being able to know that we are doing it the right ethical way. We're going to be able to change the landscape. We're going to be able to change the way real estate's done. We're going to be able to help people buy and sell. It's still all of that. But now it's like what I get high off of and what fuels my fire is seeing people on our team achieve things and build a legacy for their family and achieve things they never even thought were imaginable. And I'll give you an example. Krista on our team, and I could say this about a lot of people on our team, but here's a great example of Krista on our team. She's been with us for 4 years, okay? When she joined our team, we saw something in her that maybe she didn't even realize that we saw in her. She's able to be the best version of herself because she can be herself. And I say that to people when I'm having a conversation with them on the initial call or at KPA verification. There's no right or wrong. I don't want you answering something the way you think it should be answered because it's going to sound right to me. I want you to be you. Let's just both be ourselves and be the best versions because that's how we know if we're set up for success. That right there lays there. It's like they don't need to make up some BS. They can just be honest, and they're going to be more honest than they would otherwise. And when I talk about building a legacy, right? Like I've said this, I've had meetings with other people on our team about like, what does your path look like? And we've gone back and talked about what their 5-year story is. With Krista, it was always her goal to have a multi-unit building and live in one and rent one. She had her beautiful baby Isla about 1.5 years ago. While she was on maternity leave, she closed on that building. Her and Joe and Isla live in one of the properties and rent out the other. Like to me, that's legacy. I got high off of that. And I got to help her negotiate the deal, which was fun. But like, that's what fuels my fire. So our why has gone from, it still is helping people buy and sell and supporting their perfect experience and building a massive business and being entrepreneurial and all that. And it's compounded way at a deeper level that I didn't even know 13 years ago that would fuel my fire. But literally what I get high off of is seeing other people's success. Right? So it's figuring out for you what that is, but making sure that it's not about you and you need clarity on that. And it's not just about your business. It's about them. And if you can support them in everything they ever dreamed of and more, it's going to be a way bigger return to everyone. Right? So I don't know if that really helped, but hopefully that gives you some clarity. Any questions about that? Would you guys agree? Is there anyone who hasn't made a hire, scared to make a hire that's outside of one of those 3 things we talked about or 4 things we talked about? It's either you're scared, right? Eric, you talked about delegating it, keeping the level of standard. If everyone's in culture and they know the standards before they ever join the team, it's way easier to deliver that level of service. And if you set the expectation with your client, hey, here's how our team works. If you're not the one showing them property or showing up for photos, yet they know it's totally different than this, okay? Let me take a step back. If Julie is my client and I tell Julie, hey, Julie, I'm going to work with you to buy, and she reaches out to me next week to say, hey, let's see properties. And I say, hey, Julie, awesome. Paul is going to meet you at the property to show you. She's going to be like, what the hell? Who's Paul? And feel handed off. The exact same scenario, yet up front at our buyer consultation, I say, hey, Julie, here's our team. Here's how we're set up. Everyone's in mastery roles. Here's why. And here's what everyone's role is. And here's what they do. And you're set up for success because you're going to learn more from Paul from seeing homes with me. And our clients love it because they're getting a better level of service. They're not going to feel handed off. But you can't just say that. It actually needs to be that. Then it's easier to say it. I believe it when I say it because I know it. Because I know that if I introduce someone to Maddie, that they're going to get responded to way quicker than if it were me. And if it's a listing and I'm teeing up Allie and Tommy because Allie's our listing manager and Tommy's handling everything on the listing specialist side, they're going to get a better level of service. So they don't care as long as they have expectations. And even if it's literally like my brother-in-law, yes, there's certain, I'm not saying I'm fully out of production, guys, or that I don't help people. I still do because I like it. It's important for me to be able to mentor and coach our team and each other within the office by still doing transactions. But Tommy is better than me on the listing side. So I'm going to have him support my brother-in-law because he's going to get a better level of experience. That's just one example. It's whatever the example is for you. Does that help give clarity, Eric? Cool. Okay. Bottom line is this. Does everyone know who that is? Or anyone know who that band is? Who is it?
U2.
Yes, U2. They have a song like, this is definitely not like one of their biggest songs, but it's called Get Out of Your Own Way. We need to get out of our own way, guys. We're all getting in our own way too much. We think we're really good at everything, and we may be, but honestly, there's something that we're better at than others. We need to have leverage. We need to have a talent. We need to be able to cast the vision. You need to have an opportunity growth chart, right? And I think that's all really important. I got this, I talked about failure before. I got this fortune cookie right around the time that I must have wrote this class, and this really stuck with me. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier on, right? Failure is a dress rehearsal for success. Every one of us on here is going to make mistakes. Every one of us is going to fail, but it's just going to fit. We got to fail forward. We can't be scared to fail and not do things because we're scared of failing. I remember there was someone who was on our team and she wanted to work abroad, and it was something that I wasn't open to. And then I said to myself, listen, if we don't do it because I'm worried it's not going to work out, that's failing. Doing it and it not working out is not failure, right? I think we've all learned in the last 7 months that business can be conducted a number of different ways. Failure truly is the path to success. Don't be scared to fail, right? Find people you want to be around every day. And what really this class is all about, and this talk is all about, is truly, it's not about just building a championship team. It's about building a championship culture. That's what it's all about. If you build a championship culture, the rest is a result. I have a few minutes, and then actually I have a KPA verification in 8 minutes. So, and I need 2 minutes to eat the sandwich before I start that. So what did we not cover that we wanted to cover? Julie, we did not cover showing specialist compensation. I'm happy to hop on a call and we'll talk through that if that's okay. What are we not?
Send you an email.
Okay, cool. What other things in a few minutes? What were some ahas? What was helpful? What wasn't helpful? I want to make this more impactful when I do this the next time.
I will jump in here. I would say for me, it's just, there's no, there's obviously, there is a right way to do this, but everybody's going to define right differently. And I just think it's so helpful to hear from other people how they structure it, or just hear how they, what they expect from their team, what they hope their team will be. But I think at the end of the day, you have to focus on who you are and what that team's going to look like for you and what you're able to execute on. And you have to build it, and you just have to put in, the right pieces in order to make it, a strong thing. But this was helpful to me today, just to hear, how you think, what your setup is, what your standards are. It's going to help us, I think, as we try to move forward here and, grow a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for being all in and your guidance and your perspective.
For me, it was some of the mechanics, how you have a team huddle every morning at 8:30. You start off with gratitude, and then the 4 things that you're focusing on. I appreciate that.
Awesome.
I can piggyback off of Julie. I don't know how you could make it any better, Josh. You make it look so easy. And I think it's a testament to the person that you are. And I believe that the universe kind of brings you exactly what you need at the right time. And Chloe presented herself, and now you happen to be teaching this class today as we embark on our new relationship. And I just want to say thank you. It was awesome.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. And I'm glad it was impactful. And funny thing is, like, I know we all talk about like taking a class and you're at a different spot in your life or mindset at that time. I think Jordan Powell has heard me do this more times than almost anyone, because I've done it for like at CAR, for like KWYP and stuff. And like, he's still on here learning. Like, I learn something different every time I teach it. And I learn something different every time I take a class because of where we're at and our headspace and business and all that. And like, it can be different a month from now, you know? Thank you for sharing that feedback, guys. Anything else?
Josh, it's Patrice. Thank you so much. I got a lot out of this. What I do realize is I need to go back and be clear on my vision, my expectations, and really redefine a lot of things before I move forward. So thank you so much for, helping me avoid a trap door.
Absolutely. I'm going to put my email in here in case some of you don't have it, and I'll put my cell in here. And if you want any of those docs, email me and someone from our team will send them over. Any standards you want, or any 30, 60, 90s or role descriptions. Patrice, I'm glad it was helpful. And if you want to talk more through it, let me know if I can help in any way.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Thank you, Josh, so much. This is super helpful. I think the clarity is power. So thank you for Patricia saying that, because I think that's being very clear on the standards is going to be important.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for being part of this. Thanks for your participation. Next time, let's do this in person. And if you need anything at all, let me know. And let's keep rocking it. Let's keep having good days. Let's keep impacting each other's lives, and let's keep bringing a lot of positive vibes and gratitude to each other. Have an awesome day, guys. Can't wait to see you all in person soon. Reach out if you need anything at all.
Thank you.
You got it.